Yeah. Wake up with coffee and sports. Sunrise glow, listen coast to coast. A flow like you know.
Offensively, who made them? Oh, Patrick Mahomes.
Sideline to sideline with plays to show. This network's got the spark.
When you put up 300 yards rushing against someone, that you got your butt whooped.
I feel like I would have liked to see Oregon Ohio State in the semis, not the quarters. So I think some reseeding is probably where I would change. But
they're out of their mind. They're going to do this 3 quarterbacks in a row.
Here's the crazy.
I just can't take it.
First deep flying high, fans cheering loud, and one podcast moving through the crowd. Needy boys brawling, no holds barred loud. This wire life never in doubt. Tune into the vibe.
That's my bold prediction for the show. Devin Booker, in the next 3 years, he will be a Houston Rocket.
Because I still think Seth is still at the top of his game. I do. I think he's right there. Who knows? Maybe. Not this year, but one time soon. Why wouldn't we potentially see Seth and Roman? You know what I mean?
Tune in the vibe. Party reps, good centers. Got me on the mic now, let's spill the tea. Talking courtside dreams from history. Legends on the blacktop now and then. From Will to Steph, we hit it again. Both letter chimes in, let's go deep. Young blood's rising, can't skip a beat. Puppy prospects with fire in their eyes. Draft night suckers and hoop dream high. Wire to wire, bring the heat. Podcast magic can't be beat. Do better, we're roll better. We're hoop heads, trendsetters.
What is poppin', y'all? It is your boy, Guard E3, and welcome to the And One Podcast. And of course, joining me, just like every week, he is the greatest co-host of all time, Mo Better. How you doing, Mo?
Doing great. Thursday night, getting ready to talk hoops. Can't get any better. Welcome, chat. Welcome, everybody.
I know, Mo, I bet you're exhausted. It's rivalry week in the NBA. What better way to encapsulate that with the greatest NBA rivalries of all time? Do you think we ran Lakers Celtics? Nah, throw that out the window. We ran Cavs Hornets and Bucks Thunder.
Yeah. Woo! Yeah.
When I think of the all-time great rivalries, I think, man, do you remember that 2024 NBA Cup? Because that's the only thing that you can consider that a rivalry. Like, what are we doing, Adam Silver?
Look, if you're gonna make a really proper rivalry, or at least two teams that are aligned as far as successes, they should have had Hornets Kings, because they're both perennial permanent seats in the lottery. So they are rivals, but in a negative way. They kind of live in the lottery. And you're surprised at it, but yet they've yet to get it right. And when they do get it right, what do? Well, they trade those talented lottery players away, and they go somewhere else and lead their team to the finals. But I digress.
No, absolutely, Mo. And honestly, that made more sense than Cavs Hornets. Like, what? Like, who the? I get it. I know what they were trying to do. Like, let's build this around LaMelo versus Lonzo Ball, which, by the way, before the season even started, when they were making the schedules, who thought that was a good idea? Like, I like Lonzo Ball. I think LaMelo has talent, but, like, in 2026, ain't really a rivalry to build on with those two.
Not even close, because I like Lonzo too, and I still think he's a very capable 3-and-D guy. But at this point, Lonzo's not even getting playing time. Like, he's not just on the pine, he's riding pine. He's not in the rotation, and he really struggled with being healthy. And no question, LaMelo has all-star talent, maybe even superstar talent. He doesn't put it together, but he doesn't put it together on a consistent basis. Whoever thought sitting in the war room of making a schedule came up with this banger, and everybody like high-fived them like, yes, Hornets, Cavs. Got to be fired. Has to be fired. And everybody that that co-signed on that should be fired too.
That's all right. I got the script for next year, Mo. We're going Pacers Mavericks. And Andrew Nemhard versus Ryan Nemhard, because that's what the world wants to see.
Yeah, well, you know what? For what it's worth, it's still better than Cavs Hornets.
That is fair. That is fair. You know how we got to start things off, Mo? Picking on rivalry week a little bit, but got to start this off with some underrated players of the week. So, Mo, who do you got for your underrated player of the week this week?
You know what? I'm gonna say this kind of tongue in cheek. Obviously, Brett, this is the anniversary of Kobe Bryant's incredible 81-point performance. So tongue in cheek, I'm gonna say my underrated player of the week is Smush Parker. Because Smush Parker is going to be able to tell his kids, you're already laughing. He's going to be able to tell his kids, so you don't realize this, but your dad, me and Kobe Bryant, we combined for 94 points one night in a victory. Smush Parker can say the night Kobe scored 81, guess who the second leading scorer on the Lakers was? Your pops with 13 big ones. My underrated player, the amazing, often talked about, Smush Parker.
He's going to do the Brian Scalabrine, Mo. Remember when he said in like 20 years he's going to tell his kids he's the NBA Finals MVP? Smush probably doing the same thing. 5 years from now, look, I scored 20. Kobe had 60. 20 years from now, I actually had 50. Kobe had 30. If I give it that 25-year run, look, I had 81. I carried Kobe to the finish line. He had 13.
Oh, yeah.
It's all right. He had an off night.
His grandkids are going to have the story completely wrong. Like Pop had 81. That Kobe guy had 13. Like, yeah, that's definitely how it's going to play out.
Absolutely. No, I say, speaking of high-scoring games, I saw Michael Redd posting stuff about his 57-point masterpiece against the Utah Jazz, so I do love seeing that. I just always love Michael Redd.
I like Michael Redd too. And it's fun because I don't know if you do this, but if you friend him on TikTok, Brett, he engages with you. He some of them, they'll friend you and they won't, they'll just kind of like go on their way. But Michael Redd tries to engage everybody. He's pretty great the way that he is on social media. If you say something, he responds, and that's not something a lot of stars or established or former stars do. So I really do appreciate Michael Redd.
Michael Redd he's been so positive for the basketball community and whole, like, in an era where everybody just wants to throw out the first, like, most negative take they can, Michael Redd just kind of does the opposite, where he's always just that guy going, hey, look at this guy. He's really good. Like, I wasn't that good. You should be looking at this guy. Like, he's just very humble, and it's just very refreshing to see, especially when our media personalities are like Gilbert and Perkins and guys like that.
Or Stephen A, even worse. But yeah, I'm with you. God, did you see his rant this morning about your Bucks? That 10-minute rant about what they must do. That was insane.
I can break down what the Bucks should do in about 30 seconds. Giannis, do you want to stay with us or do you want to retire a Buck? You want to stay? Cool. We keep trying to win around you. You want to go? Cool. We'll trade you for the best asset possible. Look, I think as long as Giannis is on the Bucks, they owe it to him to keep trying to win. He's a generational talent. You don't waste that. But if he does come to you, hey, this ain't working. I want to change the scenery. You honor that request. Like, I don't think this is as complicated as guys like Stephen A are making it out to be. There's no need for a 10-minute rant. This is like a 30-second rant. Let Giannis decide, and whatever he decides, you act on it. He wants to stay, you keep trying to build around him. If he wants to go, move him on to greener pastures and retire his jersey in about 10 years when he's done.
Brett, I my gut feeling about Giannis is that he does not want to be traded. Does he want the management to go out and try to add more talent around? I'm sure he does, but I know he's also aware of the limitations that they have in terms of assets that they can give up. If I'm Bucks ownership / management, my thought process is very much what you said. If you want to stay, we will move heaven and earth to try to put more talent around you to give you another shot at a title. And if you want to go, because of the kind of soldier and person and in the community that you've been for this franchise, we completely understand that, and we will move you, even to where you want to go. But we have to get the best trade that's best for us. So I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think they want to go anywhere. I think they're going to do something that's very old school and not at all with the times. I think they're going to keep him. I think he's going to stay there. He's going to play out his career. He's going to be terrific. He's going to make them competitive. And if they add the right pieces around him, potentially, I think he will get at least another run, maybe one really strong run at a title. And I don't have a problem with that plan. This idea that they have to trade him because they're not going to win a title this year, I think that's one thought process, but I kind of like the old school approach of, no, he's our guy. He developed under us. He became a star here. He wants to finish his career here. By the way, he's not alone. It's not like Golden State's going to trade Steph, right? And we both know they're nowhere near their chances of winning a title is no better than the Bucks. They're not going to win a title, even more so with Jimmy Butler gone for the year. But they're not going to move Steph. They want Steph to retire a Warrior. I think the Bucks feel the same way about Giannis, and that makes sense to me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Speaking of the Golden State Warriors, what a week this has been for them, right? Because you start out the week with Bob Myers, or sorry, not Bob Myers, getting caught up in the past too much. Mike Dunleavy talking about going, yeah, I heard about Kuminga's trade request, but there has to be demand for a trade. I'm like, excuse me? Did this dude never GM a day in his life? I thought you were supposed to try to build up your assets. Talk about, how important he is to the team and you don't really want to move him. You get him to try to gas him up, try to get that trade value up, and he just flat out comes and goes, yeah, nobody wants him, so we're just kind of stuck with him. And then, naturally, Kuminga's not happy. His agent claps back on Twitter. But now, Jimmy Butler goes down with a torn ACL, and now you're kind of stuck because Kuminga just became really important for your rotation again, which Kuminga left today's game with an ankle injury, but now they're talking about trading him for, all of a sudden there's rumors that he could go to the Kings again. Those rumors are firing up. Names like DeMar DeRozan are getting thrown around. What do you even make about this whole Kuminga mess? And were you as shocked as I was when Dunleavy just flat out and came out and said, yeah, there's just straight up no demand for the guy?
It blew my mind that he said it we understand what he wants, but there's got to be there's got to be a want or something like that. I get it. Mike Dunleavy, for anybody out there listening, for years, the Warriors front office has been one of the best front offices in basketball, but that was also when Bob Myers was running things. Mike Dunleavy is in charge of things right now and has been the last couple of years or so, and I don't think Mike Dunleavy is very good at his job. And look, he's not alone. I'm a huge Steve Kerr fan, but I think Steve Kerr has mishandled Jonathan Kuminga from the jump. Steve Kerr was obsessed with getting another title run in the Steph Curry era, and I don't think that's a horrible thought process, but when you have young talent, you do still have to take the time to develop the young talent rather than he's not up to speed. He doesn't know our rotations. He doesn't get it. I'm not going to play him because the veterans know better. You still have to take the time to coach and develop young talent. Under the Steve Kerr regime, as great as Steve Kerr has been, they didn't develop Kuminga. They have not even played him. There's not a want for him because y'all haven't played him. The man's been sitting on the bench DMP, not injured. Y'all just haven't played him. And we could go back a few years further. You completely blew the James Wiseman thing. What was that? You blew that. Completely blew that. Jordan Poole, who I still think is a talented player, you traded him because you'd rather keep Draymond and roll with Draymond. You've traded away talented young players. You've not developed some talented young players. I just think Steve Kerr is just as guilty as Dunleavy. But the idea that nobody wants Kuminga, I would disagree. I think there's a lot of teams that want him. I think the real question is, if you're being honest, if you're Golden State, what are you expecting in return? Because we know he's young, we know he's talented, but he's not a star. And I don't think he's going to project Brett to be a star. So what are you trying to do? Like, your best bet would be to get like an older established player. But let's be honest. If the Warriors trade Kuminga for DeMar DeRozan, what is that going to do? Get them to the play-in? Like, they're not winning. And I'm not throwing shade on DeMar. I'm a fan, but let's be honest. At this stage of his career, he's not a difference maker.
Yeah, it's weird in the sense that it really feels like they blew that chance a couple years ago if they were going to move on from Jonathan Kuminga, because obviously when Pascal Siakam was still available before the Pacers trade, there were rumors that there's offers for Siakam to the Warriors in a trade involving Jonathan Kuminga, but the Warriors didn't want to part with Kuminga.
Right.
So it's weird. They ownership values him like he's this elite asset that only should fetch a premium, but Steve Kerr almost views him as a sunken cost. And it's this weird dynamic where ownership's like, yeah, we need a first, and we need all this stuff for him, and Steve Kerr's like, dude, this guy just doesn't get it, and then just doesn't play him until Jimmy Butler blows out his ACL. So at the end of the day, I think we can all agree the fact that Kuminga just needs to be moved. It just has to happen. Jonathan Kuminga, go fulfill your destiny, be a 20-a-game scorer on the Kings. Just let it happen already, Golden State. It's clear his time is very limited with you guys.
And you don't really, the clear thing that most people can recognize is you don't want him. You don't even want him. You don't want him there, but you feel like you should get more bang for your buck. And like you said, everybody out there that knows the situation, I'm talking about the other GMs and front offices, they're like, no, we think he's pretty good, but you're looking to get a haul back from him. You're not getting a haul back from Kuminga. If you're dealing with the Kings, what are you getting? You might get a combination of DeRozan. Maybe they'll throw in Malik Monk. But you're not going to get they're not going to go, yeah, we'll give you Sabonis for Kuminga. That's not going to happen. Look, as a basketball fan, I would like them to move him just because I think the young man has talent and he can go somewhere and have a good career to a franchise that actually wants him.
No, absolutely. By the way, I don't know what your take on this one is, though, Mo. Speaking of the Warriors, I almost feel like they should wait till the offseason to reassess and make any moves. And because obviously Jimmy Butler happens, his ACL's torn, he's out for this year and probably a decent amount of next year.
Right.
I feel like if they tried to negotiate now, that's like sharks smelling blood in the water. You also go to Sean Marks and go, hey, buddy, about Michael Porter Jr. He's just going to be like, hey, buddy, guess what? Yesterday's price isn't today's price. You better throw on an extra first. I feel like if the Warriors tried to make a big move now, GMs would just sense the desperation. So I feel like the smart move would almost be them running with their group, letting them get into the offseason, and then kind of mapping out a course of action from there. Because I just feel like Dunleavy's going to get taken to the cleaners if he tries to make a panic move now.
Your position and what you just said is the smart way, the thoughtful way to approach this. But I would push back and say there is another alternative to this. The problem with the smart, calculated wait till the off-season pace is this. Steph Curry gets to be a year older. Draymond's still there. He's going to be a year older. Like they can't afford to wait. More importantly, the guy that matters the most, Steph, he's having a great year. He's having another great year, but he can't afford to wait. We can't assume, well, Steph's going to be elite again next year, and he's going to be just as good as he is at age 36, at age 37. It's nice to assume that, but there's no way you could know. And Jimmy Butler, like you said, will miss most of next season. And even when he comes back, Brett, he's coming back on 36-year-old legs. What is he going to look like? I think Golden State is in a really bad situation where what you said makes sense, but they're in a very awkward NBA purgatory where I don't think the Steph Curry era can afford to blow seasons because you don't know how many seasons Steph Curry has left.
It's just such a challenge because when I look at the names available, I'm like, okay, you're not bringing the Warriors to a title. You're not bringing the Warriors to a title. It's like just such a hard balance too because it's like I look at the names available now. It's like honestly, maybe a difference maker becomes available in the offseason, but like
I agree.
But for right now, you just look at the names. You're like, okay, Markkanen, Kuminga, guys that the only name that would make sense is obviously if all of a sudden like if Giannis becomes available and you could somehow get him. But outside of bringing in like a top 3 player on the planet, it just feels like out of all the names that we're looking at right now, it's like you might just wait it out and see what develops in the off season because. It feels like just regardless, this is a lost season.
And maybe that's the approach Dunleavy and company take. You threw out a name, Markkanen. Do I think Markkanen would have impact on Golden State? Yeah. Look, the kid is a bucket getter. He's a 6'10", 11 guy that can play the 3, 4, and the 5 in certain lineups. So, yes, he would make a huge difference for them. I don't know if he would make the difference that Warriors fans would want in terms of them winning a title. But I think with Markkanen and what you have on that roster, obviously with Steph, yeah, they'd make the playoffs. But I'm always bigger picture. Is the goal to give up assets to make the playoffs only to get knocked out in the first round? Or, like you said, it's a lost season anyway. We need to be a little bit more pragmatic and try to get more value in the off, which by the way, I think you would get more value in the offseason, more bang for your buck. I don't think if I'm Golden State, I understand, and I'm going off my own words. Steph only has so many more seasons left, but if you want to give Steph a legitimate chance at least one more title run, you could do so much more for him in the offseason than you could making a panic move before the trade deadline.
I'd be terrified to even call Danny Ainge about Markkanen. Only because we all know Danny Ainge. That man's probably like, yeah, I want 7 firsts for Markkanen. You're like, Danny, calm down. You're not getting that. I love Trader Danny, but like that man just sets the most unrealistic asking prices, which good for him. Like, even if you can convince him to come even close to that his asking prices, it's normally him running away with the steal, but half the time they just scare people away, it feels like.
I love Danny Ainge because he's gonna ask for 7 number ones, even though in his head he's already made up his mind. Like, I'll settle for 4. You know what I mean? Like, but we're starting at 7, and then Danny's gonna make it seem like you out negotiated him. Like, I can't believe I'm gonna settle for 4. Like that's Danny Ainge. Although on the flip side, the Trader Danny thing is, yeah, he wins a lot of trades, but it hasn't really been to the benefit of the Jazz's franchise in the bigger picture. Like, they're kind of a perennial lottery team. So at some point, Trader Danny, those picks have to pay off. I think it will pay off with this current group, not right away because they're all developing. But you do have Ace Bailey there. You do have Keontae George there. What's the big guy name? Because I think he's been excellent.
Kessler?
Yeah, I think he's a good basketball player. Like, they do have young talent, but I think you have to have the patience to let them develop together and you'll be rewarded that way. But look what Keontae George has turned into, and then what Ace Bailey himself could become. And he's played a lot better as he's gotten more acclimated to the NBA game. So I think the Jazz are maybe like a year or two away from being one of the better teams in the league.
Say if they win the lottery this year, that would actually be kind of scary. Because they got guys like Darren Peterson and Cam Boozer and Dime Bosto. Like, there's a lot of elite talent in that top three. So
Dime Bosto's nice. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Peterson's weird in the sense that, like, he just randomly, like, checks himself out of games. Like, we saw him get taken out of an entire overtime period, which was bizarre. But, like, you see why he's, like, ranked as the number one prospect, because when he does play, he is just so smooth, and he can score in a variety of ways. He is so good.
Boozer's nice, too. He has a lot of his dad's tricky moves around the post, but obviously he has a lot more range than his dad ever had.
Oh, yeah. I think the key with Boozer is you just got to find a really good defender to slot next to him at the 5. And if you do that, you're running.
Yeah.
So I think Boozer's a little, limited athletically and more ground bound, which kind of limits him defensively.
Right.
So I think as long as you get, like, I would like Utah. I think if you get a shot blocker like Kessler next to him, that would work perfectly for Boozer.
I agree. Wouldn't it be weird if he went to Utah? Obviously, his dad played there and had a lot of success there. I think that would be kind of great. That'd be a great bookend story for that family.
Yeah, and you can almost see the lineup start to form, right? Like, you can run with Keontae George, Ace Bailey eventually, Boozer, Kessler. Like, you kind of start to have something at that point.
That's a squad. I'm telling you. Look, and you're right. This offseason is gonna be a big offseason for Trader, Danny, and company. But if you watch the Jazz, even though I know they lose more than they win, it's not because they don't have the kind of pieces that you can build upon. They're just young and raw, a lot of them.
Mo, I'm gonna give you a headline that I saw, and I swear if I told you this headline, it's funny to me. I see a headline about the Miami Heat, and they're like, they don't want to add any long-term money. They don't want to make any big trades in case Giannis becomes available. And that cracked me up, Mo, because I'm like, are the Heat going to do this every year? Because I swear, every offseason, Mo, it's the same headline with them since they got the big three and they left town. It's like 2015. They're saving their money. They're going to get the next big free agent. 2016, 2017, 28. Like, every year since they got the big three, they're like, yeah, they're big game hunting, like, every time. And to me, that's just so funny because it's like, dude, it's been like a decade. Maybe try to just round out the roster instead of just big game hunting.
Yeah, and it's hard to big game hunt because when you're trying to make a monster trade, like, for instance, we're just hypothetical. If they were to try to trade for Giannis, who are you giving up? Well, let me start. You're giving up Bam. You're giving up Hero. You might be giving up Norman. Like, what's the young kid's name who's got a lot of potential but he's raw? You're giving up Ware. Like, by the time you're done making the Giannis trade, you have to ask yourself, why would Giannis sign off on this? Because he's basically all alone. You know what I mean? Like, he wouldn't. Giannis is 31 years old. He's in his prime. But he doesn't want to spend the rest of his prime playing with role players.
And it's funny because let's say they even keep, for example, I'm guessing they would try to pair him with Bam. So let's say theoretically they figure it out with Hero and a bunch of other people going to keep Bam. I'm looking around like, all right, like, who are you surrounding them with? Like,
right.
Thoughts and prayers? Like, there's really... Like, okay, to match salary to get to Giannis, you can send out Hero. You probably have to send out Jovic. Like,
yeah,
you're just sending out so many talented pieces. Like,
that's what I mean.
Like, you're killing the whole point of getting Giannis because you want to compete. You get a Giannis and Bam duo. It's like, one, you have one competent offensive player between the two in Giannis. And, like, at the same time, like, the role players are, like, just brutal at that point. Like,
I guess Davion Mitchell's going to be left open to feast off of the Giannis double teams. And I'm not knocking Davion Mitchell because I think he's a good player, but I think on a title contender or even on a legitimate contender, he's probably coming off your bench as a 6th or 7th man. The Heat fans don't live in reality. You don't have the assets to pursue Giannis. And even if you could pull it off, I think Giannis would try to veto that trade and go, I'm going to go where and play with who? Like, so it's me and Bam and a bunch of dudes? I'm not signing off on that.
They're gonna sit Khalil Ware down and be like, hey, here's some 2015 Kevin Love tape. Just watch this. You see that corner? Get used to it.
Right. Look, I've heard the Brian Windhorst. You probably saw Windhorst whining about how the Bucks should call the Knicks today immediately, and I'm like, and do what? You think Milwaukee's GM doesn't have the ability or hasn't seen what Karl Anthony Towns brings to the table? And Karl Anthony Towns is a good basketball player. He's an all-star. He is a legitimate all-star player. But there's no package the Knicks could offer me unless you gave me like 5 or 6 number ones and Karl Anthony Towns and what's old boy's name? Because I prefer him more. OG and Bridges. Like again, to me, the Giannis move would gut you so much. You're not contending for anything. And if I'm Giannis, why would I go to New York to play on a team where it's me, Jalen Brunson, and a bunch of dudes? We're not going to be competing for titles.
Are we sure Karl Anthony Towns is playing like an all-star this year?
Well,
He has been brutal.
Let me refrain and go. He is an all-star talent, and he's been a perennial all-star. I will not argue with you. He's probably had his worst season in years, maybe since his rookie year. But oddly enough, Brett, I think that's tied directly to all the Giannis talk. I think Karl Anthony Towns has been in a funk because Knicks fans and NBA pundits have been talking about Giannis going here, going there, but primarily going to New York all the time. And the guy that's put in every trade package, Karl Anthony Towns.
You know what's funny, Mo? I made this point on I think it was actually might have been the morning show. When it was you and Mo, but I also think when you with you and Gene, I think they're missing a guy like Campaign. And let me explain, because that sounds weird at first. You're like, Campaign, what do you mean? When Campaign ran the second unit, what was his number one priority 99% of the time? He would find Cat into spots. He was setting Cat up for easy buckets. Like, he was really prioritizing Cat, and Cat was thriving with that. That just isn't happening now. Like, they still run Cat out to, lead second units, but now it's Jordan Clarkson. Jordan Clarkson isn't looking to set Cat up. He's looking to score himself.
Right.
I think that they would really benefit, and I think this is what they were going to bring Malcolm Brogdon in to do before he retired, before the year started. But I feel like they would almost really benefit from getting a more playmaker to play with Cat. Somebody who's going to look for Cat instead of looking for their own shot, and really try to set Cat up and make him a priority. It almost feels like that would help him a ton. I don't think that, fully, obviously that doesn't excuse him playing the way he has, but I think that would be a real confidence booster if they just brought in somebody that, would feed Cat, because those second unit Knicks teams are really blowing teams out last year. And I don't think Cat just randomly, got thunderstruck and forgot how to play basketball. It feels like it might be mental with all the trade talk. I also feel like that if they just found somebody that would look to Cat and prioritize Cat with that second unit, kind of like Campaign did with him last year, and get him into his spots and make life easier for him, that'd help him a ton.
I think you're spot on. When I watch a ton of Knicks games, I'm sure you've watched your share. The first thing I noticed about them is, no, they don't prioritize Cat. And there are too many times when Bridges and OG get up more shots than he does. They don't really use him that way. And I don't know if that's by design because of Mike Brown's system, which is supposed to be more inclusive, but it's been so inclusive that Cat's been kind of excluded. And you're right about Campaign. Campaign comes in there and he plays point guard in a more traditional way. So he's always looking to get Cat in his spot and give him opportunities to where he can catch and shoot or even put it on the floor and attack. And as great a player as Brunson is, that's not necessarily ever been a strength of his. I agree with you. It's weird to say this, but yes, they're missing Campaign because he plays point guard the way that benefits and highlight Cat's skill set. So I agree with you. I think it is that combination. It's mental because of the trade talk, but on the court, the way the Knicks are playing, the ball does move around, but it moves around so much. It doesn't move near Cat. It moves everywhere else, but it doesn't move to Cat. Like I said, Bridges and OG are averaging almost as many shots per game as Cat is. And I'm not knocking them, but I think he should always get more shot attempts.
Oh, absolutely. And do you think that Mike Brown survives this year? Because they're the reports already forming that players already kind of turning on Mike Brown. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not in the locker room. Don't know how realistic that is, but I also kind of understand because look, you might be buddies with Draymond off the court, but after he commits a flagrant foul on Karl Anthony Towns, you can't be hugging him. Like, at that point, what are you really doing? So, if he did lose the locker room, I think it would make a ton of sense. Because it just shows on the court. And then when he's doing things like hugging the guy that just committed a flagrant foul on your starting center, like, what are you doing, Mike Brown?
And I get it. Mike Brown is a nice guy, but you can't be that nice. This guy just clocked your center. And you're supposed to have your centers back. Like, you and Draymond can be cool, but in that moment, you got to talk to him and go, no, we're not cool. What you just did to my center, like instead, like, they're being boys. Like, Mike Brown, he might be burning bridges faster than I anticipated him doing. I thought, win or lose, he would get at least 2 years before you start hearing the mumbles about maybe moving on for Mike Brown. But you're right. It's not just the locker room. The fan base is questioning Mike Brown now because name me a Knicks coach that would have co-signed on hugging Draymond after doing what he did. Like, nobody would have done that. You know what I mean? Like, not even Don Nelson, who, if you remember Don Nelson's tenure with the Knicks, wasn't very good. But even Nelly wouldn't have signed off on that. I like Mike Brown, but the only thing that I guess what will save his job? Winning. The Knicks have to go to the conference finals again, at least the conference finals. And I honestly believe anything less than a conference finals run, he's going to get fired.
Yeah, this was a signing that me and you both questioned right from the jump, and I agree with you in the sense that this has gone south truly quicker than even I anticipated. The fact that we're already having this conversation and we're not even at the All-Star break,
right,
is pretty hilarious, actually. If you're the Knicks, I don't even know where you go from here. It's gotten bad enough to a point where I saw some people floating out the idea, well, what if they traded Karl Anthony Towns for AD? I'm like, oh, they're desperate, aren't they? If we're having those kinds of conversations already.
Why would you do that? This isn't even about, obviously AD's better, but he's older and he's as brittle as it comes. I love Anthony Davis, the player, but I realize now that Anthony Davis, as he's aged, his body's aged maybe 5 times faster than his actual age. So he will blow you away and have a 39.15 rebound game. And then the very next game, he's out with shoulder soreness or a knee or an elbow or a groin. It wouldn't make sense for the Knicks to pursue Anthony Davis. Not this Anthony Davis. If you were going to trade for Anthony Davis, you should have done that 2 years ago. Not this Anthony Davis. I get it. When they say the Mavericks aren't in a rush to move Anthony Davis, they're lying. They're clearly lying. Of course, they're in a rush to move Anthony Davis because they realize what you, me, and anybody with common sense realize. He's not part of your future. He's not going to be the one of the guys that grows and develops with Cooper Flag. He's 32 years old and incredibly injury prone. At this point, I'm not sure the Mavericks wouldn't get rid of Anthony Davis just to get back cap space.
It's so funny watching Rich Paul try to drum up Anthony Davis's trade value. Because you'd see reports like all of a sudden, like the one report came out like, well, the Raptors are interested. I'm like, no, they're not. Shut up. I know they're not. Like, that just wouldn't make any sense. And then I think one of their beat reporters come on and goes, yeah, that was a Rich Paul smokescreen. He's just trying to get AD out of town. I'm like, yeah, like, what would the Raptors do with another 6'10" guy that needs to be set up and can't create a shot for others? Like,
right.
What exactly is the end game if they traded for Anthony Davis? So, I do find it funny that, Rich Paul apparently came out and said, and apparently sport's been denied, but at the same time, I wouldn't doubt it, that he wants Anthony Davis off the Dallas Mavericks before the deadline.
And he made that clear. That's the thing. I think this is one of the times where Rich kind of played himself because he went to the Mavs and he said he wanted his client like you're letting them know, but it's not a secret. The rest of the league knows. And don't get me wrong, I think the Mavericks want to move Anthony Davis, but the Mavericks are probably being very pragmatic and going, yeah, we'll move him, but we're trying to move him for the deal that's best for us, not the deal that's best for Anthony Davis. Like, if I'm Dallas, I'm like, if Sacramento, if Utah, if Portland, if the Horn, I don't care what team it is, whoever offers us the best package, that's who we're dealing with. So if Anthony Davis if he's excited about playing with LaMelo and company, more power to him. Or if he wants to go to Portland, more power to him. But if I'm the Mavs, I'm in no rush to please Rich Paul. Every move I make going forward is about setting up our next phase of our franchise, Cooper Flag, for success. And I think it doesn't stop. If you're going to trade Anthony Davis, I don't think it stops with trading Anthony Davis. I think you also eventually trade Kyrie Irving.
I'll say I just realized the hey, how's it going? Sorry, I'm not sure why the comments just popped up, so that's weird, but how's it going, guys? Yeah, it's so what team's really looking to trade for Anthony Davis, honestly, too? Like because you look at the contenders and you're like, I don't know what contender is trying to trade for him.
You want to laugh? I'll give you one. The Lakers got $40 million in expiring contracts. I don't know if I'm just saying they like you won't get back like young talent, but they do have $40 million expiring contracts. They do have that number 30 pick. That's a first round pick. They can package that. Like, I'm not saying the Mavs would ever do it, but I'm just saying.
No, absolutely. I am looking forward to seeing what move they make. By the way, Mo, have you did you see with I saw the funniest headline, by the way. Miles Bridges is the Hornets has the third most points ever by a Charlotte Hornet. And I thought that was just kind of almost the saddest thing ever.
Really?
It gave me an idea, Mo. Would you like to play a game of guess the top 10 scores for the Charlotte Hornets?
I would try it, but I'm sure I wouldn't win. But yeah, I don't mind trying it.
Yeah, why not? Some of these are easy, but there's I'm gonna say there's at least one really, really surprising one. So Mo, we've established that number 3 is Miles Bridges.
Got you.
All right. So who are some other names you think are on here?
Obviously, Kemba should be on there, right?
Kemba's number 1.
Yeah, Kemba's the easy one. Even though he wasn't a big time scorer, he was there for a while. Like, where's Gerald Wallace at?
Gerald Wallace is number 4.
Okay, Gerald Wallace. What is the? I can't remember his name. Is it Al? Is it Al Jefferson? Not Al Jefferson. It's I don't know. He was if you remember the big man, nice post game. He was really slow and methodical, but he was there for a beat. I can't remember his name, but I felt like he put up some buckets. I don't know who. Give me another name.
Say one of them has a couple of sons that are playing in the league right now.
A couple of sons. Well, it ain't Ron Harper. But,
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute.
He's a commentator.
Yeah, Curry.
Yep, Del Curry.
Yeah.
Say
Del Curry should have been go. What about? I mean, Larry Johnson was there. Alonzo Mourning was there.
Say Larry Johnson is 5. Zoe is actually number 14.
Yeah. Okay.
Number
Glenn Rice.
6.
Glenn
Glenn
Rice.
Rice is number 7.
Yeah.
Say number 6. You'd be taking a real gamble guessing this name.
I'm just gonna have some fun. It's not Adam Morrison.
No, it's
and it's not Kid Gilchrist.
No, the number 6 is actually Terry Rozier.
I would not have guessed that. I'll be honest. I would not have guessed that.
The 2 of the last 3, Mo, I actually think are pretty. Think you could get. There's one current player, one retired player, and they're both the last. Okay, the last 3 names are all point guards. 2 are retired. 1 is current.
And they're point guards?
All 3 of
them.
2 of them make sense. The third one, I'm guessing, will have you shaking your head.
Yeah, look, they haven't been that prolific a franchise, so yeah, it doesn't not ringing a bell for me right now.
Say number 8, we got LaMelo Ball.
Oh well, I should have got that one, but yes.
Number 9, Muggsy.
Muggsy was there for a minute, yeah. I know Tony Parker was there for a sandwich. Don't tell me Tony Parker's in there.
No, the 10th leading scorer in Hornets history is Raymond Felton.
Okay, I'll be 100% honest. I would not have guessed that. And I'm not hating on Felton. I just wouldn't have guessed that.
I completely forgot that Raymond Felton played for the Hornets. And when I saw he was the 10th leading scorer, I'm like, excuse me? Who does that say?
That is a shock to me. I was going to guess somebody like David Wesley or Bobby Phills, but not. I was not going to. Raymond Felton. Wow.
No, absolutely. I just thought that was a fun collection of names. Honestly, like
that's a different group for sure.
Speaking of
so LaMelo's going to be their all-time leading scorer pretty soon.
Oh yeah, give him like 5 more years if he stays that long.
Oh yeah. He's gonna blow out the record books.
So of course, Mo, we have to talk about it. Jeanie Buss and the Lakers are at the center of yet another controversy. I picked this up because it just bullet points the big Jeanie Buss and LeBron drama, which James Outside's ego felt Clutch exerted too much control, and how LeBron was considered a savior, lack of accountability over the Westbrook trade. That's really funny to me. Privately mused about not giving him a contract extension, felt LeBron was not grateful after the Lakers drafted Bronny and gave him a contract after fearing a bad PR hit. Which, by the way, Jeanie Buss actually did respond via The Athletic. It's not really right, given all the great things LeBron has done for the Lakers, he has to be pulled into my family drama. To say that it wasn't appreciated is just not true and completely unfair to him. So I'll put this back up, but Mo, this is your team. What do you make of all this?
I'm I'm like, the focus should be about trying to like put together the best roster possible to compete. And I have to listen to what Jeanie Buss did with her family. She had her own little version of Game of Thrones, where the younger Buss siblings joined her and they overthrew Jim Buss and the older Buss siblings and got them up out of the building. And then she turned around on the younger Buss siblings and voted them out when they wanted to sell the franchise with the older. But like she literally went back and forth between her siblings and kicked everybody's back in. And in there, she did throw in some nuggets, right? Of course, we know you drafted Bronny because of LeBron, because Bronny shouldn't have been drafted. Not only did you draft him, you gave him a guaranteed contract. In the history of basketball, the 55th pick has never gotten a guaranteed contract. So yes, Jeanie, that's not a secret to us. You did that to please LeBron. I get that. But what you didn't say in your response to The Athletic is you didn't say the story wasn't true. You said a lot of things about your family and LeBron being dragged into it and all that other stuff, but you never said the story wasn't true because it's probably true.
I think one of my favorite part about the lack of accountability over the Westbrook trade is they're going back and forth about who's accountable for the Westbrook trade. And the guy who ends up taking the hit for it is the one guy who had like absolutely nothing to do with the Westbrook trade. And Frank Vogel is the guy who ends up getting killed for it, get killed and cut for it. It's like LeBron and Jeanie couldn't figure out who to blame, so they're like, you know what? Just pin it on Vogel, get him out of here. Like,
they kicked Frank's back in. Let me add one more thing to the Westbrook trade because I hate the way that it's been covered. You and I both know that the Westbrook trade was a bad trade because Russ wasn't you can't put a ball dominant point guard with a ball dominant point guard. That was never going to work. And LeBron's supposed to have an insane basketball IQ. Why would he look at Russell Westbrook's skill set and go, no, I don't need KCP. I need Russ. Like he co-signed on that move. If we go back and redo what they should have done, he's not a bigger name, but DeRozan would have been a better fit. I don't know how you the idea that you can play ball dominant guys together like that, especially the other ball dominant guy can't shoot at all. Like can't hit. He couldn't hit water if he fell out of the boat. How do you think that was gonna work? I'm a Russell Westbrook fan, but I knew as soon as that trade happened, I don't know how this is ever. I didn't see it working, and it didn't work. And at the time when it didn't work, everybody blamed Russ that it didn't work. Russ was the reason that the Lakers had a subpar season, and that just wasn't fair to him. If you want to tell me it didn't work, I agree with that. But it's one of those moves that should have never been made.
no, absolutely. It's read his mind. Say, also, this last part would scare me if I were a Laker fan, Mo. Begrudgingly gave him a contract extension, fearing a bad PR hit. Mo, what changes about the PR that the same history doesn't repeat itself? Like,
Right.
is the PR getting better if they don't give him a contract extension this year? So if they were scared, if they're going to begrudgingly give him a contract extension, fearing a bad PR hit, you know what that tells me? Guess what, LeBron? You're a Laker again next year. You're getting that contract extension. Jeanie said Jeanie and Rob. Yeah.
Yeah, the only problem is because of their situation and what they're trying to do for the future. We talked about this before the show. Yeah, they'll offer him an extension, but it's going to be at a lower number. They're going to come to LeBron with a straight face and go, we want you back. We love you. We want you to be part of what we're doing, but we're going to need you to take a pay cut. How do you think that's going to play out?
I don't think that plays out well at all. Yeah.
It will not play out well at all. You know why? Because I don't want to get back into the dynamics, but the late great Kobe Bryant, who no secret Jeanie Buss loved, they gave Kobe a monster contract when he was physically done. Do you remember that? When you were like, why did they just give him that $50 million deal when he was physically done? Here's LeBron at 41, still playing, still an all-star player, probably might even make all NBA, third team or something, and they're going to look him in the face and go, we're going to need you to take a pay cut.
Yeah, all this talk about, getting into the offseason and building this team around Luka, and they just really might run it back because you have to re-sign AR too. So you're re-signing LeBron. What's a pay cut look like for Bron? He might go, I'll take like a $5 million pay cut. That's still a lot of money going to LeBron and AR. So now you're once again finding another season where you walk to LA and riot. Where guess what? You are running pretty much a lot of vet mins. And I really don't trust the Lakers' brain trust to identify the right talent to put around those guys. Because they ever since that bubble run and the Westbrook trade, they haven't really proven that they can put the right talent around this team and their superstars.
Agree. I think Rob Pelinka is very close to being fired. The future is not LeBron. The question is you need to worry about keeping Luka happy, because we're always talking about the Lakers drama, but at some point Luka might turn around and go, you know what? I don't like it here. I'm not happy here. That would not shock me. Because there's too much drama and scrutiny that comes with playing with the Lakers. I think you have to look at the Lakers and construct your roster around Luka and make it Luka-centric. So you need to get wings that are athletic, that can defend and score. And you need lob threats that are athletic, that can finish over the top and be great weak side defenders. When Luka's at his best, he's got dogs around him and he can do the thing that he does best, and the dogs cover for his deficiencies. You can't cover for his deficiencies if both LeBron and Austin Reeves are below average defenders, because obviously Luka's a below average defender. You can't have three below average defenders in your starting lineup. And obviously, if I'm being honest, if you look at the Lakers starting five, I would argue all five of them are bad defenders. Rui's not a good defender. DeAndre Ayton ain't guard nobody. Like, everybody in the starting lineup's a cone.
I remember looking at somebody trying to make the argument like, yeah, well, LeBron's the best defender in the lineup. I'm like, is that a good thing though? Like, if you were going to make that argument, that's probably not good that your best defender is 41-year-old LeBron James. Like,
I don't even disagree with that comment. I think that's true. I think he is the best defender in the starting lineup, but that's because it's low-hanging fruit. They don't have a lot of great. It's not an accident that the Lakers are one of the worst teams in the league at shooting the three. They're also one of the worst teams in the league at defending the three.
No, absolutely. One name to maybe look out for is and this is funny to me, by the way. The Pelicans are apparently willing to ship out a Uvis Missy, their backup center.
Who?
Hey, he was solid for him last year as a rookie. He's like 6'8", 6'9", can provide some solid depth. I don't think he's anything special, but I think he's a solid depth piece, and he's cheap. So
then cheap is right up where we can afford. So we might consider that. Look, all I'm saying is, you talked about this to me last week on last week's show, and I still think it's laughable today that the Pelicans said that we're not trading anybody in our core. And I'm like, aren't you guys still in single digits in wins? But nobody, like, everybody's untouchable? On a team that has less than 10 wins, everybody can't be untouchable.
Hey, now, they didn't reach their 10th win, so they're officially out of single digits.
And let's build off of that.
Yeah, no, it's funny though, right? Here's what I find funny. Like, I think they really need to draft a center next year with their second round pick or in 2027. Look, they're running this idea that their starting front court is right now Herb Jones, Zion Williamson, and Derek Queen. I think the problem with that front court is there's just absolutely no rim protection. Derek Queen ain't a rim protector.
No.
Zion's not a rim protector unless he's coming in from the weak side. I think, ironically, Missy, their backup center, the one they're trying to ship out, is the only one who can at least semi-protect the rim. But they're like, yeah, let's get rid of him. Like, getting rid of the one guy who actually tries to protect the rim for you, like, they're just in a weird state where they have all these players with overlapping skill sets. You know, you got Fears and Poole, Queen and Williamson, Herb and Trey. Like, obviously, they all have differences between them, but there's a lot of similarities between half their skill sets. And you're going to ship out the one guy. It's like, hey, I can offer some shot blocking and some defense. And you're like, nah, get him out of here.
I don't know their plan. It's an organization that's in disarray, a franchise that they don't have an identity. But you are right about the overlapping talent. Like, no, Derek Queen isn't the freakish athlete that Zion is, but he's more skilled than Zion. Like, if we're just talking about as a basketball player, what you can do and not do, Derek Queen's already more skilled than Zion Williamson right now today. He just doesn't have that explosive ability. I think Fears could, if he ever gets a consistent jump shot, oddly enough, he'll kind of resemble Jordan Poole. You're right. There is some overlap. Herb Jones is a poor man's Trey Murphy. He's not as good as Trey Murphy. Herb Jones will never average 20 points a game. It's weird because Toronto has overlapping talent too, and they're like a mediocre team. I just think that you have to commit and have an identity. And the tough thing is to accept the fact that something didn't go right. And I think that something is the Zion Williamson era in terms of him being the face of your franchise. I think you have to get off of that. I think you have to you have to pull away from that table and start trying to build around Queen, Fears. You probably draft another young talent this coming off season. Build around that young core and save yourself some cap woes. You got to get off of Zion. I love Trey Murphy, but you're a small market team that lives in the lottery. You can't actually afford to keep him. You can't. I just think realistically, how do you tell your season ticket holders, what do you sell them on? That you might win 20 games? Like, I don't get it. I would move Zion quickly as possible because there are enough franchises in this league that absolutely believe in his talent, and they would give you probably a pretty good haul for him. But I think that haul is how you help buffer the young talent you already have.
I think the problem with the idea that the Pelicans are going to add young talent is they traded away their first for this upcoming draft to get Derek Queen.
They did do that. So
I think with when it comes to, I almost think that maybe you do trade Zion, but if you do, I would aim for a pick in this 2026 draft because it's a good draft. It's a loaded draft. So if you could flip Zion for a pick, for a high pick, I would consider it for sure. Once again, the struggle with Zion, I don't necessarily think is half the time about his play on the court. I think the struggle with him is he'll never find even ground with the Pelicans because of his contract being not guaranteed. Like if you're the Pelicans, you have no incentive to take back a bad contract because I can just cut Zion if I really wanted the cap space. So
it's true.
So it's like, where's the middle ground when it comes to trading Zion? You're at a point with the Pelicans where until he starts hitting those weight clauses again, unless he re-guarantees the contract, you're pretty much like, well, either you give me what I want, or we're just going to keep running with him, because if I really don't want him anymore, I can just be like, yep, goodbye.
I think you're right. If I could, I would trade Zion for one of the picks in this coming draft. Especially if moving him could get me inside the top 10.
Kuminga guy. Oh, buddy, I don't think it really matters. I think we're going to get trade rumors from Kuminga regardless of what happens. That man could have, that man could be out for the rest of the year, and the first report that would have came out instead of Kuminga injured would be like, Kuminga trade rumors. It's small print. Oh, by the way, he's done for the year.
Well, it's funny that you said that because remember, Jimmy Butler, the night Butler got hurt, the very next day there was like, will Golden State trade Jimmy Butler? You know what I mean? Like, are they that cutthroat? Like Jimmy's hurt, Jimmy's gone for the year. We don't know what he's gonna be. And Dunleavy actually had to answer the question, like, well, I don't anticipate us moving Jimmy Butler. And I'm like, you don't anticipate it, but you ain't ruling it out either.
Say his game is still the same. Like, see, I'd say with Zion, it's funny. I think he actually does, like, I think he could translate with other superstars, but also, like, the problem is, like, I could cut off, like, the last 4 words of the sentence and say, there's the problem. Does Zion struggle with playing? Done. That is the problem. But I do think that he's, like, a good enough passer. He's a good enough at getting downhill that you pair him with like maybe a two-way, like, and I'm going to name an archetype of player. I'm not saying they should trade for this player, but you pair him with a guy like Paul George where he can catch and shoot, play off the dribble. I think he could play flawlessly with a guy like, what you saw with Paul George's skill set, for example, when he was in his prime, but I don't think that player is really available right now, and Zion's just struggling to stay healthy. So if you're the Pelicans, are you really going to start making more moves, giving up future picks to snag a superstar to play with your star that's not really playing? So there's just so many different dynamics when it comes with this Pelicans roster that it's just more questions than answers. Like, if Zion can show he can consistently stay healthy, then I think that he absolutely could very well play with a superstar. But if you're the Pelicans, why are you trading for a superstar to come play with Zion if Zion's not playing?
Right. I think that's the biggest problem, right? What you just said. Zion doesn't play enough, right? He doesn't play enough. And that's my problem. I've never questioned the talent or what he could be. I question that I feel like we have this conversation about Zion Williamson every season. And at some point, if you're Pelicans management, I'm not sure David Griffin is still the GM. He might be.
Zion can go ahead and be a food critic.
You know what? I think he would do well on he could do man versus food. I like that.
No, absolutely. No, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens in the next week in the NBA because anytime I think we're done with the drama, something else happens.
The beauty of the trade deadline, the beauty of the NBA trade deadline is we get all these hypothetical trades that never actually happen. It's fun. There's this huge buildup, and everybody gets really, really excited. And then the big trade will be something like Lakers trade Jackson Hayes for the young man you was just talking about on the Pelicans, and that'll be the big trade.
Where's it? Yeah, say it. That actually sounds about right. Hey, you know what though? Of the other big news, Mo, we saw somebody return to the G League with a name we haven't heard in a while.
Oh, I know what you're going, Cam Reddish. Yeah, I saw that and started laughing. Like, we were just talking about this guy. Yeah.
Zion OnlyFans and IG modeling.
That's funny.
Don't let Zion near LA. That's all I'm saying. He'd be cooked.
Yeah, he don't need to go to LA. He needs to go to Utah.
Can't start feeding my John Collins trade rumors I need. You're trying to get John Collins to the Celtics? Yeah, you know what? Fair. 100 men versus Zion.
That's funny.
Jared McCain is in the G League. The fall off of it's funny. We were talking so highly of him and Dalton Connect just last year, and both of those guys, it feels like they fell off quickly just for different reasons.
But McCain is still coming off the injury, though, right? Like that. I think he's still trying to get his legs up under him from the injury. In the case with Connect, it's 99% mental.
Yeah, with Jared too, it's a mix of I think him coming back from injury, and it just felt like he obviously had a much bigger and defined role in the offense last year between him and Maxey, but this year, you re-added Paul George, Joel Embiid, VJ Edgecombe, and Like, there goes your touches. Sometimes with some players, it's just harder to get into a rhythm with less touches. And
That's
it
fair.
feels like Jared McCain, on top of trying to come back from an injury, just can't seem to get into a rhythm in a lot of these games.
Yeah, well, look, the Sixers, they're kind of a mediocre team, but they don't lack for perimeter talent. I mean, don't forget they got Grimes on there too. I feel like in a lot of ways McCain is kind of pressed to try to get back out there, and I would rather him get fully healthy and then try to get back out there and work himself back into the rotation.
Yeah, no, it's just they do have a lot of good young talent.
Yeah, St. Thomas, dope.
You know, it's funny. That's almost why I'm kind of excited for them to eventually move on from the Paul George and Joel Embiid era, because the 76ers have kind of shown they're actually pretty good at identifying young talent. Like, they're finding some really good sleepers like Hunter Salas. They just can't seem to crack the rotation, obviously. And I'm kind of excited for when the 76ers just turn it over to the young guys, because I don't think it'll be a winning team right away, but I think it'll be a fun team to watch.
No, I think it'll be an entertaining team. They play up and down style. They're fun to watch. Give these guys time to develop, and I think eventually they'll be contenders. Especially the faster you get away from the Embiid, Paul George era, the better. Because even though Embiid has shown flashes where he's played well, you can tell he's a completely different player because he's almost primarily a jump shooter.
By the way, Kyle, I need you to talk to your guy for me. Can you please tell Jaylen Brown he doesn't need to tell everybody he's the best basketball player in the world every interview? Like, if I've seen him do this like 4 times, it feels like in the past like week, where it's like, yeah, I'm the best player in the world. Yeah, I should be in the MVP race. Yeah, nobody's doing this better than me right now. Like, big dog, we get it. You're having a great year. Slow your roll. Like, I love the confidence, but you don't need to remind me, like, every other interview, like, yeah, look how good I'm playing. Like, we can see that. I have eyes. Don't worry about it. You're not going unnoticed, Jalen. You're having a great year.
I'm a huge JB fan. He's having a great season. I love the confidence. But like you said, it's almost getting to the point where it's overconfidence. Like, you're supposed to believe what you believe. I don't have no problem with him believing he's the best player in basketball. And as much as I like him, I don't agree with him. I don't think he's the best player in basketball. I do think that he's warranted being in the MVP conversation, not because I think he's going to win it, but I think he's warranted being in the conversation. Right now, depending on games played, Joker might not be able to win it. Wemby might not be able to win it. Well, nobody's saying it, but in a weird way, SGA might repeat because the two guys that might have the best chance to take it from him, they might not play enough games. I love Jaylen Brown, but objectively, you're not going to tell me that Jaylen Brown's having a better season than SGA because he's not.
No, absolutely. And like I said, I like the confidence, but at a certain point, like, when you're looking at the actual like SGAs and Jokic of the world, they don't do that. They just kind of let their games do the talking. And JB, like, I love the confidence, man, but just let your game do the talking.
You know what? The weird thing about Jaylen Brown was I thought he was the guy that didn't talk much at all, right? But and I know he's really deep and he's into social issues, but he didn't talk a whole lot. But this particular season, he's had this huge season, and he has been nonstop, right? Woofing.
By the way, but Mo, I'll let you answer this one first. T3 and D asks, is Paul George a Hall of Famer?
He is. He is. He's not one of my favorite players, but if I'm being honest, think about it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is Paul George not like an 8-time all? He might be a 10-time, but I think he's at least an 8-time All-Star.
Yeah, I think he's got a top 3 MVP finish.
Yeah.
He had some great career with the Pacers there. He did take the Clippers to their first ever Western Conference Finals.
He did that.
Like, I do think that he's racked up enough accolades between All-Star appearances, and I think here's a big key part too. As he's had a fantastic career, and the media loves him. That is always huge with getting voted in.
It is, but I'll go this way. In the history of basketball, nobody that's made 8 All-Star teams has not made the Hall of Fame. Nobody. Hell, there's guys that's made 5 All-Star teams that got in the Hall of Fame. Paul George is going to walk into the Hall of Fame.
Say, 9-time All-Star, 6-time All-NBA, 4-time defensive team.
Yeah, he's walking in.
Players, steals leader, and All-NBA rookie team, and an Olympic gold medal, and second team All-WAC, and he's got his number retired by the Fresno State Bulldogs.
I always tell people this, Brett. Talent-wise, Paul George is absolutely more talented than Jimmy Butler would ever be. But if I was going to go to war and you're asking me who I would take Jimmy Butler. The point I'm making is we're asking if Paul George is an all-star. Paul George, by the numbers, is more of an all-star than Jimmy Butler is. But because we remember that Jimmy took Miami to 2 finals runs, we're going to say Jimmy Butler. But I think they both get in the Hall of Fame, but I'm pretty sure Paul George has more accolades than Jimmy Butler does. I'm talking about in terms of individual accolades.
Oh yeah, he's racked up the individual accolades, and like I said, I do think it's important that he's racked up enough, and the media does seem to enjoy him. So, you know what? I think that he was already walking. He was already walking in, like after he led the Clippers to the Western Conference Finals. Everything after that, it was just kind of cherry on top of the sundae. It's not hard to make the Basketball Hall of Fame fair. I think we pushed it too far. I've seen that argument. I saw somebody also say that Blake Griffin should be in the Hall of Fame, and I'm like, we're going a step too far with those two.
I like Jamal Crawford a lot. I don't think so.
Look, hang their number up in the Intuit Dome, him and Blake Griffin. You can remember Lob City forever. They can get a retirement ceremony going with DeAndre Jordan, but like the NBA Hall of Fame, not even close.
Now, Blake, I don't have Blake's numbers right in front of me off my top of my head. I have to assume Blake made like, 6 or 7 All-Star teams, right? At least. So I think Blake will have a case. The question shouldn't be, will Blake Griffin be a Hall of Famer? I guess the question should be, would he be a first ballot Hall of Famer? I would say no.
For All-Stars, 6-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA, Rookie of the Year, Rookie First Team, and a Slam Dunk champion. I don't think I don't think you're getting far enough on that. But hey, that Jamal Crawford, look, he's on the first ballot. Hey, that boy, nice Hall of Fame. Like, there's not many more games that were more aesthetically pleasing than Jamal Crawford for sure. Jamal Crawford,
He did. He did. I mean, that's facts. But Blake also went to 6 All-Star teams and was 5-time All-NBA. Like that's something. I have no problem with Sean Kemp being considered. That's why I said, bro, it's funny you brought him up before I did. I was going to consider Blake because I thought that he was, in terms of accolades, he was right there with a guy like Sean Kemp. I don't think either one of them are first ballot Hall of Famers. I think that at some point Blake Griffin will get in, but I don't think he gets in like right away. I think he's gonna be one of those guys that might have to wait a minute.
Oh yeah, no, that's fair.
Jamal Crawford though, don't hold your breath on that one. And I like Jamal Crawford, but the only way a 6-man is going to get into the Hall of Fame is he did something prolific. Like that 6-man was like a finals MVP or had a monster series in the conference. He has to have a signature moment in the postseason. And I don't think Jamal Crawford has a signature moment in the postseason.
I think the argument for Jamal Crawford was also very stupid because they pretty much said, well, Manu made it as a 6-man. But if you're also trying to argue with Manu, you're forgetting about the whole the biggest piece of Manu's case has nothing to do with the NBA in all
Right.
reality.
It's his European career.
It's
Facts.
his European career and the
Yeah.
2004 Olympics
Right.
is his
Facts.
biggest case. Like, obviously, he had a great NBA career as a six man with the Spurs, but like, you could argue that Manu Ginobili was going to the Basketball Hall of Fame just off the strength of his European and career alone, and off the fact that he beat Team USA with Team Argentina. So I do think that comparing Jamal Crawford and Manu Ginobili's cases are just dumb because they're just so completely different. But some people are just big Jamal Crawford fans and
I'm a
overlook
big
it.
Jamal. I'm a big Jamal Crawford fan. I just don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he absolutely will. No, I love Jay Crossover, but yeah, he should be nowhere near the Hall of Fame.
I mean, that's a fair point. He does. I think Sean Kemp kind of gets lost. You forget about it, and people look at him and go, he's a product of what, the late '90s or late '80s, early '90s. Yeah, I think Sean Kemp, if you go back and just look at old tape of him, he had a face-up game, he had a post game, and he wasn't a stiff on defense. Like, Sean Kemp was a good basketball player. And he wasn't one of those slow plotting big men. He was kind of ahead of his game. Like, he had the kind of athleticism that a lot of bigs have today, but they don't have his skills, his overall skills. So yeah, I'm not saying Sean Kemp shouldn't get consideration. I think he should get consideration. But I think that the committee's probably thinking this way: if he gets in, doesn't it open up the door that Blake Griffin would get in as well? Because, like, if Kemp gets in, doesn't Blake get in? If Blake get in, doesn't Amari Stoudemire get in? Like, I'm just saying they're all very similar. Yeah, Chris Webber got in, and correct me if I'm wrong. Chris was a 5 or 6 time All-Star. But just remember how the Hall of Fame works. It isn't the NBA. It's not the NBA Hall of Fame. It's the Basketball Hall of Fame. So a lot of times they combine, if you played college ball, your impact on college ball and your pro game. Chris Webber, in college basketball, the Fab Five, they had a monstrous impact on college basketball and the culture. And I think they went to 2 national championship games. I think they lost both of them, but I think they went to 2 of them.
You know who should also be a first ballot Hall of Famer? Chris Webber's agent. How do you get an opt-out clause after your rookie year in your rookie contract? Like, the fact that Webber got an opt-out clause that early into his rookie contract with Golden State put his agent in the Hall of Fame, man.
Yeah, look, Chris Webber's a great player. He really was. Like, he walked into the league with the Warriors, and he's giving you from the jump like something like 17 and 10, like in like 4 or 5. Like, he just always could play the game. He was a natural. And it's kind of surprising to think that he only made 5 All-Star teams. I think it's 5 because he was so good for so long. But you have to remember the era he came up in. Chris Webber's playing against Sheed. He's playing against KG. He's playing against Duncan. He came up in an era where there was some dope power forwards. Like, he had to wait his turn. Those early 2000 Kings, when he was at the height of his powers, that was a scary squad, but it was primarily because of Chris Webber, what he did.
Yeah, and Chris Webber was such a problem, obviously, until he got hurt in the 04 season, which he played for years after that, but his career is pretty much over after that, because even when he comes back in 04, and you're hyped, you're like, oh, Chris Webber's back. He just never looked the same, even coming back for the Kings. Like, you had Peja Stojakovic developing and even finishing 4th in MVP voting in 04. And you're like, oh, well, Webber's back. You're gonna run this, yard, and it just never materialized. So
yeah, Peja became the better player because after Webber had that microfracture surgery, the first thing you noticed about him, the skill is still there, but the athleticism was completely gone. And then you watched him in his time with Philly, no lift in his legs, went to the Pistons. Just he was just a shell of himself once the athleticism was gone. What was that about Grant Hill? I just missed it. It was really quick.
Grant Hill got in because college at Duke 3.
No,
Yeah.
I think that's part of it. Right. Grant, think about this. Before the ankle injury and all the surgeries, correct me if I'm wrong, Brett, wasn't Grant Hill already like a 6-time All-Star?
Yeah,
he was like that's before the injury. So he was having a Hall of Fame career. He's a 6-time All-Star, probably made a couple of All-NBA teams, and then the injuries came. But again, right, if you combine what he did at Duke and what he did with the Pistons, never mind everything else, yeah, he's going to get in the Hall of Fame.
You know what's funny, by the way, about this next comment?
Oh, that's facts, by the way, Kyle. That's facts. Because don't forget, they had Chris Webber, Jawan Howard, and they had Sheed. They had all three of them at one time, and only the Wizards could find a way to mess that up.
Fair. You know what's funny? Because next week I was going to bring back puppy prospects and try to start, bringing a new prospect in every week until the draft. The first guy I was looking at was Andrea Stojakovic, because I've never seen a player look so dissimilar to their dad in terms of play style. Mo, have you ever seen Andrea Stojakovic play?
I've never seen him play.
If you never saw the last name, you would have never thought this was Page's son, because he is very good, but his strengths are so dissimilar. Like, Andrea is very good at getting downhill, finishing at the rim, but can't really shoot that well. He's literally just
nothing like his dad at all.
He's a little completely opposite of what you saw with like Peja. Like, if you didn't see the last name, you would have no idea that he trained to play with Peja, because their games are just really different.
That's kind of crazy. Wow.
Mark
Yeah.
Price.
Yeah, they had some familiar names, and they just found a way to blow it. Like bad coaching, bad management, because they didn't lack for talent.
Hey, thank you for subbing, sir.
Don't forget Calbert Chaney was there. Like, they had talent. They had Rod Strick at one point, just couldn't win.
Yeah, like, he's a really good talent. It was just, I look at him and I'm like, is this Page's kid? Because I'm watching him get downhill and attack the rim so, like, aggressively. I'm like, this ain't Page. Yeah, hey, what's good, sir? What's good, Dice? Hey, thank you for subbing. I definitely appreciate
what's going on, Dice?
Yeah. Yeah, apparently. So whoever Andrea's son or daughter's gonna be, they're gonna be lighting it up. Yeah, no, I like I said, I'm excited. If anybody doesn't know, I got a segment that I do normally starting at the turn of the new year, which I'm going to bring back next week, called Puppy Prospects, where I kind of talk about a prospect a week. Try to bring them out and talk about a new draft prospect. And the reason it's called Puppy Prospects is because, well, I have 2 dogs, and a couple times during the show they wouldn't stop barking. So I just decided, instead of getting mad, let's include them in the show. So that's how Puppy Prospects got started. So I'm going to get back on that for you guys. Rick Barry still has a son in the G League.
Oh, that's crazy. That is crazy.
No, absolutely. Same. Yeah, I can't. It's wild seeing all the talent in the G League. Like, and it's just a lot of familiar faces too. It's like when I looked at the Wisconsin Herd G League roster. And it's like, yeah, we have Victor Oladipo. I'm like, yeah, who? Victor's down there? Right. I thought about going up to see him play, too. They're all like an hour away from me.
You know what? Shout out to Victor Oladipo not giving up his dream and making it back to the league. I love his resiliency, like that after all he's been through, the guy's on a mission to make it back.
No, absolutely. Hey, but hey guys, look, that's all we had for you tonight. Hope you enjoyed us talking hoops. We're here every Thursday. Yeah. Clips of Rondo's kid playing. It's weird. Yeah. Not wrong.
Time flies.
It makes me feel free Frank Kaminsky. I love Frank the Tank. I'll never forget watching him knock
Frank
off
the Tank.
Never
Okay.
forget watching him in Wisconsin during their great run to the national championship. But yeah, no. Anything you want to add, Mo, before we get up on out of here?
Nah, appreciate you, chat. You guys made this go fast. We did a little bit more than an hour, but that was because of you guys' energy and you guys' knowledge. So thank you guys so much for joining us.
That's saying, like I said, thank you guys for sticking with us. T3 and D. For some reason your comments appeared really late, so sorry about getting to them late. But like I said, I always enjoy having you. Shout out to Little Two Dice, Kyle, Jory, and everybody who tuned in.
Thank you guys.
You want more? Say if you want more content like this, keep tuning into Wire to Wire. You can follow the N1 Podcast on Facebook. I say there's also the N1 Podcast Discord as well. There's a link to join in our Facebook. So that being said, we thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next week, and have a great weekend, guys.
Thank you for tuning in to the And One podcast. If you like our content, you can find more on the Wire to Wire Podcast Network on YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify. Want more And One? Find it on Wire to Wire. Like and share our Facebook page, and join the And One Discord. Grab the link to join from our Facebook. Thank you for tuning in, and have a wonderful day.